Tell me, do you think an animal can be evil? Well, many can argue that even humans can't be evil, let alone a wild beast. After all, they do what they need to survive, don't they? Well, when you know about the amount of them that hurt their own kind for fun, or the ones that hunt and kill for sport rather than need, you might change your mind. See, today I wish to discuss a breed of dragon that's quite foul, a genus that is known for its horrid behaviors and evil acts, one so appropriately named, the Vileclaw. Luckily for us, they are not locals. The Vileclaw hails from the Far East. Well, actually, they hail from the vast wasteland that blocks us from the Far East, an unnatural desert that these creatures call home, and are the absolute kings there. But you might have picked up on something. I called it unnatural, and that's because it's true. This land was not so horrid once. Today, it is naught but an endless waste of jagged, spiked glass and colossal piles of bone. But at one point, it was a normal desert, as you would expect. The wasteland as we know it now is the result of a dragon war. Although a dragon war is a bit misleading of a title, as it was in truth a one-sided slaughter and genocide, with the Vileclaws being the clear victors. And to put this into context for how vast and horrid this must have been, imagine all the types of creatures within our own continent, all the varieties of its life as well as other dragons, multiply its size by 5-fold, and then poof, all of them killed after a long and grueling war where one species decided it was going to be the only one. The very breath of this dragon conflict blasted the very sands into glass. The true scale of this wasteland has never been fully explored. It's possible there's something on the other end, or even within it, perhaps even other peoples and dragons, but no one has ever survived the journey and returned, nor has anyone come over from the other side. This is actually the reason our maps end where they do, for as far east as you can go after this point, it's just glass and bones. But the reason I'm going into so much detail about that homeland is because you must understand it in order to understand the Vileclaw. For you see, this conflict was so long, it actually shaped and changed them. The conflict stretched over such a vast amount of time that they evolved during it. It also shapes their personality, their habits, and their behaviors. I'll start with the bones. See, there's a reason there are so many bones left behind, since they keep them after a kill, like a trophy. Some will make caves, nests, and other primitive structures out of the bones they take from their kill. When they kill something, they always want the carcass for this reason. Not to eat it, but to keep the bones together in one place so that they may harvest and use them later. They will eat the meat when they get hungry, but most things tend to go bad before they fully finish a carcass, making the Vileclaw incredibly wasteful as a species. But in spite of everything I have just said, they're actually not that territorial. If their home is lost, they will not miss it. In fact, many are known to abandon their own on a whim to try and claim another. The conquest and the fight is quite amazing. Your structures and nests are great and all, but at the end of the day, if you're not having fun killing things, what's the point? For survival is their main goal at the end of the day. They care more about staying alive than keeping a nest, or even their young. In fact, some parents are known to eat their own young for no real discernible reason, purely just on a whim. It's not that common, but it does happen. See, this also lets me question the nature of their homeland again, since as far as our knowledge, there is no other known wildlife there, not even a simple moss or humble bug, just nothing. And while there is evidence that there was once people here, it's impossible to tell if they actually lived there or were people from outside who died there. Which leads me to my biggest theory about them, in that their main diet is each other. They might be a species that primarily sustains itself with cannibalism. We know close to nothing about their mating habits, so perhaps they breed frequently and have a lot of fast-maturing young in order to sustain such a lifestyle. And given the other feeding habits of dragons, we know that some don't have to eat as much as their bodies would imply. Adding with the fact that they don't really have many other options due to their own annihilations, this is the most logical thing to me. Although, with that being said, they are known to carry out, I hesitate to call them raids, out on neighbouring regions, and there are moments where they enter extreme strife. See, every 100 years or so, there is this violent surge that strikes throughout the species, causing them to attack everything they see, including their own hunting packs and family. This ensures that only the strongest will survive. Wow, as if the cannibalism wasn't already doing that. This affects them like clockwork too, just as soon as a weakness would be able to show itself, coincidentally enough. But it is also during these times they sometimes leave their home and attack nearby lands as if they were a striking force or army. But since there is no more sand on their border, the glass won't spread anymore. At least not on our continent side. We don't know what else they border. And everything they would attack would be able to be repaired and regrown before their next one, meaning they are not spreading anymore. Although the few of them that do live within our lands stay within the Svard molten ruins, since that is suitable enough for them, and luckily they haven't noticed the actual desert on the continent. And we should keep it that way for as long as we can. Right, now I want to quickly get into their biology, since they are, well, to put it bluntly, a little off. See, they have one pair of thick legs and a pair of enormous wings as you would expect, but they also have a pair of short, stubby, and almost downright useless front arms. Even the claws these arms have aren't sufficient enough to pierce dragon scales. And after you notice this, which is quite obvious, you start to see other irregularities about their bodies. Like how their legs are just missing a set of scales, and how their ankle joints are almost completely unprotected in the same regard. They have a huge tail as well, but it seems to rest at an uncomfortable position. They also have a huge weakness in their underbelly that is borderline completely unprotected when compared to other dragons. On top of that, their head is just a little bit too small for their body. Well, all of this combined, it just makes the species look almost deformed. Luckily for this creature, this gives it one massive benefit in its biology, and that's it relies almost entirely on its pure size and strength to deal with an opponent. For they are one of the largest types of dragons around that are purely aggressive. They're even able to muscle out strong scales, also known as gold carriers. It is clear these traits are of a natural origin, but how they all ended up together in this way it's really hard to know. Some other scholars have assumed it's the result of their desperation being so alone, or perhaps poor breeding, some even going as far as to say it's actually inbreeding, but I'm not so sure. See, this species is quite precise in its lifestyle, and many choices it does for a reason. And so, I propose this weird but simple hypothesis. The species is just not done yet. They are instinctually breeding in traits and have just yet to get the exact desired ones they want, but are getting closer. See, they change much faster than other dragons. See, dragons are like reptiles in this regard. They are the slowest to change and adapt over time. But the Vileclaw seems to change on par to other creatures like ourselves, and because of this, they might be using it to their advantage, almost certainly unknowingly, since they are already a natural perfect weapon. See, this would actually explain a lot of their irregularities, like how a patch of their scales on their legs are missing. Since they wanted the size and only cared about the size, they neglected about its proper defense. Or how they just really wanted a pair of arms and so forced one in, regardless that it's in the wrong position and has weird joint placement and is borderline useless. This does, however, raise the question of, are they actually smart enough to force breed these traits in, And if I'm being honest, no, I don't think they are at all. I believe this is more of an instinctual thing rather than an aimed one. My choice in words is just a bit misleading, perhaps oversimplifying. But this does leave the scary possibility that if left unchecked, they could eventually become one of the strongest dragons around. Actually, they're almost there. Imagine the possibilities if they had a fully functioning pair of arms and proper scales. It would be terrifying. And while this is not their home, nor do they spend much time here, every now and again, they are known to wander. Perhaps looking for exotic bones to take to a nest that they will soon abandon, or perhaps just to have some fun, to hunt, fight, and kill. After all, they do crave combat, more so than any other dragon. Well, more so than anything else. But fortunately for, well, everyone, marauders have yet again shown that just like anything else that's natural, they are tameable. Well, after the loss of several teams of men and years of work, so most of them only put in this much effort if the one is truly worth it. The ones with names for themselves and all that, you know the type. The Vileclaw are an interesting species. One that is, in all regards that matter, evil. The only thing they don't attack on sight is each other, and even then, that's not even close to a guarantee. They are the only dragon that hunt and kill for fun, and the only one I can think of that naturally tries to torture its prey. Their intelligence is questionable, but I would not be surprised if they understand the concept of evil, and do so willingly. The only bit of advice I can give you on Vileclaws is that if you see a cave structure or a nest made entirely of bone, you stay far, far away from it. Thank you for listening to my tales. I'm the Ashspawn. Feel free to leave a like, comment, or subscribe. It would really mean a lot to me. But, till next you meet, fellow traveler, have a good day.